Victoria's Secret has announced their yearly What is Sexy list, and no surprise, no surprise to anybody who's ever seen a Victoria's Secret show or looked at their catalog. I've definitely just dated myself by saying catalog. It's a bunch of thin white women. So basically they said what is sexy for this year. It's bold, powerful, and confident. That's what sexy means to us, and that's what all the winners of our annual roundup embody. From artists to athletes, these women and men are at the top of their game and inspire us to work harder and keep it sexy every day. And all of these women, with exceptions of like 2 or 3, are skinny white women, which is in line with a lot of the women that they feature in their show, on their website, and a lot of their ads. So we have Taylor Swift, of course, Mandy Moore. There's a few exceptions here: Vanessa Hudgens, who's Filipino and Native American, Priyanka Chopra, and Alexa Chung. But Chrissy Teigen as well. And then of course we have one dude in the final graphic here, James Corden, who is apparently the sexiest late night host. I think that might be more of a function that there's not a lot of late night women hosts, but yeah. I'll save that conversation for a different video.
Wait, are there any? Right, I think that
there used to be Chelsea Handler, but she doesn't really, she doesn't do that anymore. Samantha Bee sort of, yeah.
I like Corden representing the overweight men in the sexy category.
Well, also there's no plus size women in this entire list.
Yeah.
Which is a problem as well. There's no black women, there's no plus size women. There's a huge issue here. Victoria's Secret, wake up.
Yeah, but we're not surprised by this, right? Skinny's been in for almost as long as I've been alive. And not always. I remember my grandpa thought that skinny women were ridiculous. They used to like fuller figures back in the day. And of course, everybody varies. But in terms of the mainstream media and these magazines and these lingerie things, they've been pushing skinny women on us for forever.
Yeah, but also I think lately it's been, and in good faith, I think it's been a PR move, right, and a trend that we're seeing more plus size women in these ads, and we're seeing your Ashley Grahams, we're seeing these women, Aerie, doing unretouched ads. So it's actually the move now, I think, to have more plus size women, to have more variation, to have more diversity. Target just did a completely unretouched bathing suit campaign, which was amazing and beautiful and showing the diversity of women, and I think Victoria's Secret is actually lagging behind on the trend in this case.
I was surprised by it for the simple reason that we do a bunch of stories on sports about Sports Illustrated and their message that they put forward, because Sports Illustrated, let's be honest, right, it's mostly dudes that are going to go out and buy Sports Illustrated. You get the magazine in, you look at all the women in bikinis. So they pushed forward a message, I believe, the previous campaign where they were being more inclusive and they were being body positive, and we had women of all different shapes and sizes, and that was their message they put forward. And then they backtracked, I believe, last year, and they went back to their usual go-to, I guess, because they might not have seen the sales. I don't know necessarily what their reasoning was, but it was surprising for Victoria's Secret because Sports Illustrated is aimed at a male demographic. Yeah, most guys will probably tune in to watch the Victoria's Secret fashion show because we're kind of perverted and we want to go and watch that, and we can sit down with our girlfriend and pretend that we're just there to watch it with her because they watch it also.
Does any girlfriend buy that? Like, oh honey, I want to check out the latest fashion with you.
I want to check out what I'm going to buy you for Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
So, but they sell clothing to all different women shapes and sizes. So you would think that if they were to push forward a message that in the end is going to affect their bottom line, which everyone, regardless of what you make yourself think, is out there to do, is to increase their profits, that they would try to be more encouraging to not just the skinny stereotype, that they would want to push forward and promote women of all shapes and sizes, because they sell to all shapes and sizes, if I'm correct.
The range, right, yeah.
Yeah, but that's the amazing thing about marketing, though. If you, the conventional wisdom, and I think there's certainly elements of it that are correct, is that if you put women that society is marketed as not as attractive into the ads, it drives people away because people aspire to be the people that they see in those ads. So look, in terms of males and what we're attracted to, think of the power of marketing in that, I'm serious, like in my grandfather's generation, women who were plus size were much more desirable, considered much more desirable, right? My father's generation is somewhere in the middle, and for us, we have internalized it, that skinny women are more attractive. And it is the power of mass marketing, and it's fascinating. And I think that it's had a different effect on women where they think, oh, if it's someone that I have been taught is attractive, well, I want to be like that, and hence I'll buy it.
But what a power to hold, right? Think about how many women watch Victoria's Secret. Think about that is like one of the probably the most well-known lingerie brand in the world. What a beautiful power that they have to be able to show women of different shapes and sizes and to show women the diverse range of beauty that exists. I think it's really frustrating as a woman to look through these magazines and only see one type of woman. A lot of the times that is an unrealistic ideal for so many women around the world. And so I think it's really important that these companies in 2017 step forward and start to make a real difference and showing women themselves in these magazines. And it's not fair to say that like, oh, that skinny is hot, because that's not necessarily true for most people. Like for your father or for whomever, like there's a lot of people who are into all different, shapes and sizes and whatever. Like let's show those women too and show them that they are also hot and sexy.
So I've just got a question out of curiosity, because I know you've talked about, you watch the Victoria's Secret fashion shows. When you're watching it, what is your thought process? When you see these women, are you motivated? Are you like, do you want to go out and try to aspire? Like, cause you're very in shape and you go out.
I'll be completely honest. I am a thinner white woman myself, and I watch that show and feel really shitty about myself and feel that I need to eat healthier and go to the gym and all these things. And I think I'm very body positive. I'm very open with that on my Instagram and like talking about that and the way that I work out and the way that I carry myself, 100%. But even myself as a thin white woman who, is more similar, I think, than the rest, not similar to a Victoria's Secret model, let me just be honest. But I just mean, more similar than the larger demographic. I feel so shitty about myself watching that show. I enjoy it, like it's like a hate watch sort of thing. But I can't even imagine for the majority of the country what they look like, and it sickens me. And I think these women are great, and a lot of them have great causes, and I don't want to, fault the angels for anything or whatever like that. But I do fault Victoria's Secret for not having more diversity when it comes to who they show in both their ads, who they show in the show, because it is so important for young girls to see an advertisement and to see in the media girls who look like them, and so that they don't feel like they are an outcast or they have to change in some sort of way to fit these unrealistic beauty standards that the media sets out for them. I think this is crucial. I think Victoria's Secret needs to step up to the plate and catch on to the trend and then also lead the trend, because this is a huge change that we need to see for young women and frankly for young men.
Well, at this point, I'm impervious to marketing because, as I told you in the past, we got marketed into our heads that this is what's attractive. But like, if I see a guy who looks great on a billboard or whatever, I'm like, well, he plays his game, I play my game. Somebody pass me a cheesesteak. Young Turks now has over 6 billion lifetime views. You know who did that? You did that. We're now larger than CNN, ABC, you name a news network online, we're larger than them. And you built all that as everyone scoffed and didn't believe. And here we are, guys, thanks to you. Build independent media together with us at tytnetwork.com/join.